Hi there. Hi there. It's Trisha Broderick with Ignite Insight and Innovation coming on the first Friday of the last month of 2022. Yes, last month. I don't know where this year went at all, but it is the last month and we are here. It is December and it is crazy to me. But that is where we're at. So, why did I pick this topic? Well, I've done similar topics like this in the past, and I thought about it. I was like, well, I've already done a similar topic. I shouldn't do this. But you know what? Sometimes this world, I question this world sometimes. And the best thing I can do when I'm in that space is to put a little appreciation out there, to put a little good out there. But that doesn't mean that we're always great about it. So I was like, you know what? This is what's on my heart. This is the topic. So we're going to talk about some of my tips for giving appreciation and things that I do, or at least try to do, or when I'm thinking about it, to close out this year and to not do it. Although I did get a request to do one of my, I write a blog and I don't write often. I write once a month or whatever, similar to this. I do this once a month, and I do a pet peeve ranting one, and series of like annoying things about this type of meeting or this thing, and somebody asked for me to like do a whole rant session of just pet peeves on live, and I'm like, does anybody really want to see me just rant? And then I realized probably. I'm not sure if you're laughing with me or at me, but let's get real. When I rant, it's funny because I'm ridiculous about my rants, and I'm ridiculous about the things that annoy me. And I fully own my seriously questionable mental stability at times. But today, no ranting. Today is about appreciations. And so let's get into some tips for that. So the first tip that I have is to take some time to think about when you're going to give an appreciation, what are you specific about? It feels weirder in some ways when I'm like, if I just like, hey, quick, hey, thanks. It's kind of that same as like, hi, how are you? And you keep walking. You don't actually wait for the reaction or the response. And so appreciation can be a little bit of that, where we stop doing it because it feels kind of disingenuous when we're like, hey, thanks. And then we keep right on walking. So get a little specific about what you're appreciating. It doesn't mean that you don't appreciate anything else that person does, but like for that specific thing, you're grateful. And so like, I'm going to use this to actually demonstrate and to call out and to highlight a few appreciations as well for the end of the year for myself for this. And so like Jake Calabrese is somebody that I work with a ton. He, in a lot of ways, I just consider him, he's like my brother. Like, I mean, seriously, like we interact like we're siblings. It's hilarious. But we chit chat on text and things like that, but it's been a little less frequent because we're both doing different things right now, although we come back together for classes and things like that. But he sent me a text that was like, hey, we should go for a walk or do something next week. And I'm like, yes, like, because it had been on my mind. I'd been wanting to do it. Life, right? Like, and so that simple act of kind of reaching out, doing that text, and that like got me off my derriere, and we went for a walk yesterday. It was beautiful. It was amazing. And I'm really grateful, not just for the walk and the time, but for taking that initiative, right? Like taking that moment to reach out, and not just our normal reach out banters and talking or discussing what we need to for work, but to say, hey, let's go for a walk. Let's find time to do this. And because the instant he did it, I was like, oh, yes, we should. Like this should happen. And let's make this happen. Like I'm available this day or this day this week. And that initiative made it possible to do. And it was by far my best part of yesterday. And so it doesn't mean that I'm not grateful for so many other things Jake does for me, but I want to be specific of that appreciation and saying thanks. Like it not only got me outdoors and walking, not only got me some exercise, not only mental and stress, but I got to spend time with Jake. I got to it was a great conversation. And I got to spend time with his doggy. I mean, how awesome is that? So be specific. Tip number one. Tip number two, we tend to think that they have to be these big elaborate things, but they can be small. and little, right? Like it doesn't, like I just gave one for Jake asking me to go for a walk. Like that's not, it's a small thing, but it means a lot, right? But sometimes we always wait for like these biggest, greatest, grandiose elements to appreciate, when often it's the little things that make a huge difference. And thinking about how that little moment makes a difference. And so like I have somebody that we text, well, not text, but we use, messaging application and we literally message each other every single day, Selena. And we message each other every single day. And that frequency and that interaction, but then I started realizing, well, it's so small and it's so frequent that I don't even think about it anymore. And yet I rely on it. It's one of the very first things I do in the morning is open that app so I can respond to what my best part of the day was yesterday and what her best part of the day, and hearing where she's at and where I'm at. These messages are short. They're small, but yet they're connection for me. And because they were small and because they're frequent, I don't always think about appreciating it. So I will be getting off of today's live and sending a little thank you to say I really am grateful for these daily messages we've been sending for years now, I think, in building that relationship and grateful. So don't always think of the thing that's unexpected. Sometimes the things that need to be appreciated are small and frequent in your daily life right now that you maybe even are taking for granted a little bit, that deserve a little like, well, that's awesome. And I'm grateful for this. And it doesn't matter if it's small or that it literally happens every single day. In my case, I'm like, it's important to me. And I need to occasionally take the time to recognize that and to appreciate that. Tip number 3. Sometimes it can feel a little like embarrassing. Now, let me explain. Awkward or embarrassing in terms of like, well, if I say thank you for this thing, are they going to be like weirded out by it? And maybe I'm the only person that ever thinks about this. I don't know, but I do. I'm like, so I have a former colleague and friend, Jennifer Diney, that she'll send me occasional texts, and they're like sometimes of her niece and nephew, of her kids, of her dog, or just like a message, a picture. And she's so good at like keeping that connection. And it's not on a regular basis. It's not on any kind of frequency, but it's always there to where I feel so still connected and like a part of each other's lives in different ways. And I'm always like, sometimes when she sends them, I'm always like, I'm so like, if I just respond with, I heart you, is that going to be weird? And it would be probably, right? Although she would probably not think it was weird because it's me. But to take the time and kind of going, okay, even if I feel slightly like they're just being your friend, or they're just doing like what you expect, kind of, it doesn't mean it still isn't worth an appreciation and acknowledgement. And so take that time to say thanks, right? Like, who cares? Like, what's the worst she's gonna, she's not gonna stop texting me because I said thank you. Like, that's not gonna happen. So I think there are times in my mind that I'm like, oh, is this really worth it? Is it going to be awkward? Is this something I should even appreciate? Always appreciate if you want to. Doesn't matter. Just do it. Nothing bad will come of that. But my part 2 of this tip is like, well, but I'm awkward and I don't want to stand there and wait for a response. It's like you're in this, like, maybe it's like trauma from like the times you say I love you first, and if they'll say it back, I don't know. I don't know what the heck is in my head with this, but but like if you're worried about it being awkward, or you're worried about making them uncomfortable with the appreciation, you send an appreciation in a form that's not like in a direct way, right? You can send a text, or you can send a card, like an actual physical card. They still make those, and you can just mail it out so that they don't have to immediately respond in that moment, or you're staring at each other and you feel awkward about the appreciation. I write a blog post sometimes, and I don't honestly, like, I try and always tag the person, but I don't know if they always see it in the ways that I tag them, and things like that. So a lot of times you can be more of a, I don't want to say broadcast, because it's intended to be for that individual, but like where it's not asynchronous. That's the word I'm looking for. Asynchronous type of appreciation. So where you don't have to worry about it being awkward if that person doesn't want to respond right at the moment, or they're uncomfortable. I mean, I'm not great at taking appreciation myself. I'll try and dismiss it or invalidate it. It's not even funny. But yet I still, I still like appreciations, and people do in general, even if they're uncomfortable and awkward at times with them. And then the last tip I wanted to highlight, I actually got from Adam Weisbart, who runs Agile Virtual Summit. And I was helping him with some of the stuff for, as he's done it for a while now. And he emailed me like this message that's like, it's called, and I wrote it down, EVA gifting assistant. And so this message comes in, and then they go and ask you a bunch of questions. Do you like sugar or, or chocolate? Are you a chocolate, or are you salts, right? Like, and it just like, are you technology, or are you candles, right? And it asks you all these questions, and then based on those questions, it sends you a gift based on whatever the person who's mailing you the gift budget or allocation was for. And so I found this site, or this service, really intriguing, because I always struggle with like sending somebody a little token gift or things, because I'm like, do they even care? Do they want a candle? Do they want, what do they even want or need? And if you're going to spend the money to invest in it, like, what are you going to get them? And so I found this service that Adam used really awesome, because I got to make some choices, and then I was still surprised by what arrived, and getting to, but yet it was going to be aligned with what I kind of wanted or liked and enjoyed. So it still kept the surprise element, but aligned to my preferences and things. So using sites like this, I'm going to try and incorporate it a little bit more into mine, to where I can send out and do that little bit of appreciation for people in a way that is a little more personalized, and yet still kind of easy, honestly. Like, and versus Adam trying to go out, ask me what I want, go out and get it and mail it. And yes, appreciation is wonderful, but we're busy, right? And so this was like a nice service to kind of still provide that. And it stuck with me. I mean, I've literally thought about it. And I'm like, oh, that's something I want to start using and doing with it. So those are the things that I'm gonna tip and give tips. Those are the 5 tips for this go around, and what we're doing for giving appreciation. And and I love it. Jamie just posted, I'm literally sending an appreciation text right now. I love it. It's perfectly timed. Is it to me? No, just kidding. Perfectly timed. So take that time, put that little bit of good back into the world. And again, it's for the other person, but you might be just surprised how much it's for you as well. And realizing what's out there in the world, and how you're impacted by a lot of amazing things, big and small, every single day. So that's the tips for the end of the year, 2022. I have no more public classes this year, but I do have several for January. One is already full. The impactful training and speaking is already full. So that one is not an option, but there are 2 others that still have some seats. One is leading amazing teams that I teach with Jake Calabrese. That is in January. So excited for it. It's been a little bit since we've run one, and so I'm really looking forward to it, where we really dive into how to help create empowered collaborative teams using especially the skill of professional coaching as leaders. The other one that still has some space available is the advanced CSM, which is really focused on helping teams make collaborative team decisions. Like, what are your facilitation skills as a leader that are really helping teams come together to make decisions so that when you say you're empowered, they actually can be empowered, and what that means. And so it's all about building deeper facilitation skills. And that is also in January. I am also partnering with Think Louder for a weekend CSM in January as well. And I enjoy doing that just to help out, to pay it forward. So there is a CSM available on the weekend, but you won't see that on my site because I'm going to partner with Think Louder and giving that with it. But those are the two upcoming classes. I'm going to be working on my schedule of what I'm going to be doing for the next quarters and things like that. But definitely check out Leading Amazing Teams and Advanced CSM, the facilitation and coaching skills for leaders, in January. Otherwise, I'll see you. I think I am doing one more live with Diana for our Lead Without Blame, though, this year too. And I didn't mention that. I didn't think about it. So pretend like I'm editing for a second and cut out. Just, check a quick email while I look for the date. It is the 22nd. Diana and I are going to do one more live together. We are also going to do monthly lives for January 22nd, where we are going to come together and do another theme for Lead Without Blame, the book that we just recently released. So that will be still happening this year, but otherwise not much publicly available for this year, but I'll still be out there on LinkedIn and whatnot. So I hope you have a wonderful holiday season, and I'll see you next year.